TGI Friday, I guess? I don't know. I don't even subscribe to all that stuff, but welcome. If you are new to my channel and this is the first time you're seeing me, my name is Lana Labonte. I am here to uplift, support, inspire, and hopefully that empowers you to be the best version of you. You are here and meant to be. So we got to follow our bliss, follow our intuition, the into me I see, because that is our pure essence and ability, but not just seeing with these eyes, but with the third eye. Closing 9 eyes and making them one. Ah, you have to go in to manifest out. I was having a really interesting conversation earlier with my neuromuscular therapist as I was on the table and he was digging into my ribs, some serious work going on there, around how we've all been disempowered into these belief systems, into these ideas that we have to depend on the external, when really it's all internal. And that's where we go back to the theme of this video around love is an inside job. We don't need to seek it outside of ourselves to validate us. But because we've been so conditioned into the system of dependency, validation, I have to prove myself, you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough. You hear something enough times, you start to believe it. And the more you hear it, you begin to regurgitate it. You start to parrot it, conscious or unconscious. We are all influenced from our environments. So you may not, when you were a child, you may not have had the choice of your environment. Most of us didn't. We chose to come in and incarnate into these physical bodies as these humans, to have these certain experiences. The contract we signed, we outlined everything. But in the human form, there's this idea that we've been indoctrinated into we're victims of our circumstances. We're really not. We're masters at manifesting. We're masters at attracting. And we attract where we're at. So that everything that shows up to you is a mere reflection of where you're at. It's very simple. Where you're at shows up to you to meet you, to say, hi, I am you. Recognize me. Even the things that you want to say, I don't like that. I don't like that person. They're showing you yourself. Relationship is where we grow. Relationship is where we learn to relate with who we are, through who we encounter. Recognize the other as you, because they are. You spot it, you got it. And if you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all. And that means God is in every little detail, even the shit stuff, even the stuff that you're like, that's evil. I mean, I can go in on the, the demonic stuff going on in the world. But do I want to manifest more of that? Do I want to give it my attention? Because the more you talk about something, the more you put the attention and the focus and the energy there, you draw more of that towards you. You create more of that, and they know that. So if you notice, yeah, sometimes that is an ouchie, isn't it? So that when you notice the crazy stuff, that you're like, I didn't just see that, did I? And then what do we do when we drive by the scene of an accident? Tell me humans aren't at the same time disgusted, still looking to be offended, looking to be like disgusted, looking to find something wrong, because we have been indoctrinated into a system of negativity. It's not our natural nature to want to be negative. What happens is we fall into the pattern, we fall into the line. School systems are designed after prison systems. I was even having that conversation earlier about how people don't even realize that some of the fashion that came out over 20 years ago was based on the prison system. The slouchy pants, the ass hanging out, the underwear and all that, but people didn't understand the real signal and all that was, look, open for service. Like, that's some nasty shit, just saying. But people follow false idolatry, people they admire or they want to be like. I want to be like that person. Why? Why do you choose to be like someone other than yourself? Why would you want to be anybody but yourself? Seeing the gifts in others and wanting their gifts denies you your own, denies your truth, your true essence. And it is a mess, because what happens is taking your attention is your frequency, is your energy, is feeding louche energy, harvesting it. Christianity is the biggest religion in the world. How many people are constantly parroting off? Bible, Bible. Like, just break down the words, people. Bible, Bible. Think of B-A-A-D-A-A-L, ball. Funny how you hear words like ka-ball. And that ball, you see the twist on the way that we don't even realize that when you start looking deeper into religion, it's all about getting us to attest, to give our loyalty to something outside of ourselves. And that is idolatry. To submit, thank you, Valley, to submit, to be submissive so that someone else can be dominating over us. Would you truly have chosen the things you've chosen if you knew that was the real underlying key, that you gave your power away willingly? Stop and think about that. How many people say they love somebody, but it's the idea of really dominating and controlling or owning that person, and the codependency of needing to control or have someone under their will, under their powers, mostly because they've been under the power and they don't recognize it. And that the way the system is designed, we've all submitted, we've all adopted, we've all complied and gone along for so long. And can't you feel this churning up, this sense of like frustration and resentment in people? And people are attacking one another when reality is it's not us against us. It's against a system. Hi, Shakti. It's against a system that has us serving it. And we didn't even realize how deep this goes. It goes generationally. It goes far back there. And things are really coming to surface where you just cannot deny it anymore. Nobody's hiding the agenda. It is in your face. So what you look for, you will find. If you want to be offended, you want to find the shit, you want to find the negativity, you will find it. Because where attention goes, energy flows. And when you have got a beeline to find things, and like I say, it's conscious or unconscious. The question is whether or not you want to be aware of it. Because when you become mindful, you slow down, you take stock of your own thoughts and acknowledge where you yourself are. What is your baseline? What is your inner dialogue? Because when you know thyself, nothing will catch you off guard. You'll be able to discern the lies from the truths, the deception and inception, the interrogation, the indoctrination nation. The world that we're living in is not the world we were living in, I don't know, 30 years ago, for sure. I sometimes question, did we really flip timelines? Or did we get caught off guard and something flipped? There's a whole lot of, I say, my fuckery meter is on high alert lately these days, and I've been seeing a lot of it. And like I said at the beginning of this year, the theme for this year is about discernment. Can you discern what is real from your truth, your essence? What is it you desire to experience, and why aren't you? Why is it that we are so easily influenced from the external Why do we allow people to tell us, mediums, channeling, spell casting upon us, and then we repeat, we reap what we repeat? We are magic. We are masterful. You take a mind, you take a group of people, like I said, the Bible, and how many people will say, oh my gosh, this is just like da 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 da, and they start rattling off the stories because they remember them. Where attention goes, energy flows. You get enough people to believe something, you will get them to manifest it in the reality, in the actual real world. Because if you mind, it matters. The mind is what creates matter into form. That's some powerful stuff. That is some magic. That is our magic. And we have been serving in this capacity unknowingly. Most people are unknowingly, blindly doing it. See, they'll say things like, oh, it was Murphy's Law. Whatever will go wrong will go wrong. Well, actually, if you took personal responsibility, you wouldn't have to play the victim and claim and point a finger outside of yourself, because you always got 3 fingers back. Anytime you play the victim and saying somebody did something to me, or someone gave me something, or blah, 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 you're disempowering yourself. Do you really want to believe that? It's easier to not take responsibility and project it out to others. But in the grand scheme of life, until you own it, it owns you. And you will continue to be the victim to it too. I speak from personal experience here too, because even yesterday I had a moment where I was like, why am I so fearful of doing certain things, like writing my story? Like when I tell people my stories, like different stories, they're just like, wow. I'm even sitting here listening to myself going, wow, I've lived one hell of a crazy life. Many lives, actually. To the point where I'm going, okay, universe, I know you're not going to let me fail. That's the least of my concerns. So yesterday I was reminding myself, the universe isn't going to allow me to fail, because in essence, we never fail. We're just redirected. We go in a different direction, a different trajectory of life. Life will guide us if we allow ourselves to be in tune with it, to flow with it, to not get caught up and stuck along the way. Don't be your own cog in your own wheel kind of deal, right? So like the idea that whatever we focus on, we can achieve is a reality, is a truth. We want love. It's natural. It's human nature. It is our essence. Love is not obsessive or possessive. But so many people look to possess and obsess, and then they wonder why they're so dissatisfied. Why did that happen to me? Victimhood mindset again. And so we have to challenge our own thoughts, our own belief systems, our own BS, right? Why do I think that? Why do I believe that? Is it even true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? And is it serving me? If we don't confront our own shit, our shit will just keep showing up and running the show, conscious or unconscious. And sometimes you can be very well aware of it and just keep repeating it. But see, that's where you have the power to choose. You can always choose and change. Hey, Pamela. So choice is your superpower. And choice, again, there are no mistakes. There are only choices. And the choices that we make and that we take are the ones that change the trajectory of whether we made a mistake or not. We really don't. We just re-navigate through life with more choices. So choices make changes. And when you think you failed, you make more choices, and you never really failed. You just made a different choice. So when you change the way you look at things, the things that you're looking at will change as well. I mean, these are all like, here I am just regurgitating stuff that I know people have said for years. It's not new. It's whether or not you can take it all and package it in as a tool for you to be an awareness of yourself. Knowing thyself really, really is your guide. I'll tell you what, the blueprint. Getting to know yourself so deeply, all your shit, all your shadow, all your light, all your whatever, all of that contributes to the life you live. And that if you think it, you are it. If you believe it, you will achieve it. It's how we show up to life. Even when life sometimes feels like it's taking us out, you get back up and you keep on going. So it's like, wow, how'd we get here? Maybe we were under a spell. Maybe we were in a dream state. Maybe we are in a dream state. Now it's time to get lucid, get clarity, acknowledge, how do I need to shift this? How do you want to shift your life? Where do you want to be? You want to experience love, we all do, but you want a healthy form of love. And so you have to go back and you have to work through, deconstruct the narrative around what love has shown up to you as in your past. If love, I know, a dream within a dream, dream a little dream of me. If life in your past has shown you love in the form of argument, abuse, it takes time to unravel that, to confront that, to acknowledge that wasn't healthy. But because it was comfortable, sometimes we overstayed a welcome in those environments, right? I've been there. Overstaying a relationship that wasn't serving, trying to figure out, how do I get the hell out of this? Like, wow, how did I get into this? That's so outside of my character. And it's humbling, because you go, wow, anybody can be easily influenced. But it's when you wake up to, and in the awareness and the mindful awareness of, wow, it's time to change. The moment you acknowledge it is time for you to change, it's like this energetic whoosh comes in. And there's a little hesitation, a little anticipation, a little bit of like, ooh, am I sure I want to do that? Because the unknown, the unfamiliar is scary to us. It's scarier than the things we already know, even if those aren't good for us. Nobody ever said, I want to stay in an abusive relationship. Because a lot of times it's easier to stay in that because you just feel like that's safe because you got it. You got someone. But that doesn't mean your life is going to get better. And the way that you allow others to treat you is usually as a reflection of how you treat yourself. Yes, I can't make you love me if you don't. You can't make your heart feel something it don't. Yes, I know that song very well. Love is an inside job. And until we start showing people how we love ourselves, we can't expect someone else to show up and love us better than we can love ourselves. And the idea that we even know what that looks or feels like, it's going to be different with every single person, but we have to start with ourselves. How do I want to feel loved? What is an expression of me loving me? Healthy foods, healthy thoughts, going to the gym, moving your body, taking care of this temple that houses your soul. Journaling, art, dance, expression of your inner child, dancing, singing, anything and everything that brings you alive, that's an expression of love. It's love in motion. And you know, when someone shows up to you and you get excited and you're just both, you're playing off of each other's energy, that's expression of love. You know, where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm having the best day, blah, blah, blah. And you know, everybody's like, I want some of that. What she got? I want what she's got. And this is something that me and my sisters and my mom, whenever we would be together and having a great old time, it's like people would just energetically come in and close in on us. Like, where'd they come from? Because they needed that too. They needed that infusion. At the time, sometimes it was annoying, but we were very well in awareness of it. It's like, wow, okay. You know, when you're shopping and you go to reach for something, you're holding up and you're looking at something, and all of a sudden someone's reaching to take it out of your hands. I kid you not how many times I've seen and experienced that in my life with my family and been like, what is it with these people? They have no boundaries because your light is so bright, they just want to be in it. That your aura is so expansive, you're drawing them in. Because your love, your natural essence of being brings it out in them, but they're not necessarily aware of it. It's like, I don't know why I'm even here. You're up in my face. Could you please like back off? You know, I normally wear my John of God piece, right? So this is my bee, queen bee. My John of God piece that I normally wear. When I first got that years ago, I kid you not, I had people out of the, like literally everywhere I went, people would come up to me and reach out to touch. And it was like, whoa, talk about learning boundaries and how to express in a nice way. Could you please, like, you know? And then halfway into, you know, I had a few people that were like right there grabbing at it. And I'm like, excuse me. And they were in this mesmerized space of, oh, I'm so sorry, or couldn't help themselves, or, you know, again, we need to establish a healthy standard of which people can be in our space, but not try to hijack or feed off of, or like vampires, suck the energy out of you. And I was reflecting upon some of the experiences in my past where I had people that I allowed doing that. And I was like, wow, all that did was cause resentment and frustration within myself, for myself. Like, why the hell did I allow that? Great example. When I ran my first marathon in Paris back in 2004, I used to run with the running club in Naples, Italy. And there was this one lieutenant in the Navy, and I'll tell you right now, first off, I would never have hung out with half of the people that I hung out with over the course of my life if it wasn't for the environment that we were in. And I keep catching myself doing this, where I'm like, well, I'm in this environment, so I'm supposed to be all love and light, and I'm supposed to like these people, and we're supposed to get along, whatever. And I've just come to the conclusion, no, you don't. You don't have to like everyone, and you don't have to allow everyone into your space. That's an act of self-love. That's an act of discernment. And learning to trust and honor yourself and your boundaries and your energy and your essence. Because there will be parasites, there will be people who are willing to feed off of you left and right if you don't stand your ground, stand in your power, stand in your purpose. They will suck the life out of you because you yourself don't know how to say no. And so it is an act of self-love to say no when it's necessary for your mental health. Nobody else is more important than you when it comes down to it. We are equally all important and powerful, but you should never put anyone up above yourself, ever. Equalize it maybe, but never above you, because that's idolatry. And so I hung out with her a few times, and I just felt like every time I was around her, there was this kind of like frenetic energy, schlep rocky type of deal. Have you ever been around someone who you feel like when you're around them, they bring bad juju, bad energy? I drove her home one time. I ended up scruffing my brand new Mini Cooper on the side wall where it wasn't very well lit, so I could barely see. And she's like, oh, it's fine, just turn. And because I allowed her to direct me, I ended up, you know, going into the side of the wall of where her place was. And I was not happy about it. And then I let her borrow a DVD movie, which she never returned to me. And then we went and did the Paris Marathon. It was my first marathon as well as her first. And in the very beginning, all of a sudden she had to use the bathroom. And here I am going, just go between the cars. Like, we don't have time to wait. I'm like, it was important to me. I had a time that I wanted to reach, and I would have, had I not stood in a line for a porta potty because she insisted her prim and proper little prissy ass had to sit on a porta potty. She couldn't do the other deal. I lost a good 10, 15 minutes with this individual. And then at the end, I ended up going on my own way. And I made it to the end. And when I finished the race, I wanted to go get a massage. And I went to my partner at the time, the one who has all my stuff in Italy, Larry. And he's like, "Where's Lisa?" Because he saw us when we started. I said, "I have no clue." "Well, you need to go find your friend." I'm like, "Excuse me." All of a sudden, I'm a fucking babysitter. This woman was older than I was by a good 4 or 5 years, something like that. So anyway, long story short, she was just la-di-da-di-da. Turned out she went and got a massage in one of the tents. And I'm over here searching for her, feeling like a freaking babysitter. I was so pissed off because I wanted to get a massage and I was in pain. Then we went and had something to eat. And then later I was getting a massage at the hotel at our suite where Larry had booked me a massage. And all of a sudden, see, this is an example of boundaries. She kept on pushing herself on us. It's like, I'm here with my partner. You go do your own damn thing. And there was another couple with us that was, actually, I remember they must have said something to me about her being like a third wheel. It's like, wait a minute, why aren't you with other people that are single? Because there were other friends that we all knew from our running club in Naples. She comes over to my hotel wanting to get a massage, and it was so uncomfortable and so inappropriate. And then she was in the bathroom and Larry's there and she's getting undressed because they had to come into the room to give her a massage in my room. I was not happy. I was reflecting upon this today. I was like, wow, the life lessons I've had, you know, allowing people to overstep and impose themselves on us. Like, we really need to be more mindful of that. Because you do that, the only person you get upset with isn't the other person, it's yourself for allowing that. And I knew that back then. It just felt like very intrusive because here I am with my partner. He was actually visiting me from Iraq at the time, 2004. I wanted to spend time with him, not this third wheel. It's like, fuck off. Who the hell does that other than someone who has no respect or appreciation? She was single, and in a certain sense, I'm going to tell you right now, it almost felt like she was kind of like flirting with the, you know, kind of like, I'll just act all aloof and like, you know, maybe I'll, you know, like wanting my man kind of thing. I know that's really weird, but I used to have that kind of stuff in my life. And there was another time when I was in Italy where, and this was actually one of the things about Larry that used to bug the shit out of me, honestly, was that we were with a group of friends of ours, Italians, and one of our other friends, and he had a girlfriend. His girlfriend was Italian. She did something with her ankle or something. She like twisted it, so she was having trouble walking. And here's Larry being more attentive to this girl than her own boyfriend. And I'm like, Larry, that's Johnny's girlfriend. Could you let him take care of his girlfriend? I'm like, you're with me. This is how bizarre the life is. When you're like, wait a minute, who are you with and who are you trying to impress? It was those kinds of things that, looking back on those types of relationships, I'm like, and like I said, I mean, we had one of these, we were back and forth for over 10 years together. So it's interesting. You learn about your relationships when you really sit down and confront your behavior during those times, because that's where you learn what your issues were. Why did you allow someone to treat you a certain way that wasn't on par with where you deserve to be treated? Because you weren't treating yourself that way. I'm here to say it because I learned that. I wasn't showing up to myself the way I needed others to show up to me. So of course, why was anybody else going to show up to me that way? I was so overly independent. A lot of times I would have boyfriends say, hey, do you want me to buy you this? Or do you want me to get you that? And I'd be like, oh no, I'll get it myself. What the hell was wrong with me? And yes, gifts are a love language for me. So it's so like obtuse of me to think, why was I doing that? Why was I denying the pleasure of somebody giving and offering me something in a gift? Why did I do that? Because underlying that, it was a self-worth issue. It was me trying to prove myself that I got myself. because of the cult of personalities, the societal, you got to take care of yourself. Nobody can take care of you. You got to do it for you. This whole separation from unity, that we all got to think of ourselves first. And that's so deeply ingrained in our society and our culture that most of us who grew up, unless you unravel and deconstruct it, reverse engineer all the belief systems, you'll never get to the point where you realize that they got you just by the fact that they wanted you to think you had to do it all alone. Nothing comes without hard work. You got to do it all work on your own. You got to only think of yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to think for you first. But yet it's backwards, because then they want you doing for other people. Think of others first. Okay, so who's thinking about me? Right? And you see how the mental health illness is rampant like crazy right now. And that was something I was thinking and reflecting upon the other day. I don't know if all of y'all know who James True is. I follow his YouTube channel, and he's amazing. He says a lot of things from a deep perspective that unless you understand it in yourself, it'll poke you and provoke you, because he comes from a perspective of like this homunculus earth, and how a lot of the issues are perpetuated as normal in this agenda to further humanity so it doesn't connect to its highest self. It's this idea of codependency. They need us to depend on them and rely on them. I've been saying this forever. We are in the most toxic, codependent relationship we've ever been in the world, in this whole time frame. I don't know how we got here this deeply, other than people just, in a blind haze, under the spell, just watching things to numb out. How many times people say, I just want to sit down, relax on the couch and watch a movie. Never stopping to think that the movie's actually programming you to manifest by the attention you give it through the senses. The 5 senses is how you take in your data, your information, and then conscious or unconscious, it's processing and creating stories around it. You watch a movie, they get you through the visuals, they get you through the music, they pull you with your heartstrings and the emotions. Everything is triggered in you to become emotionally, doesn't even have to be a strong emotion, just enough for you to go, that reminds me of this and that, and then you don't even realize that later on down the road, how many times have you heard someone say, that was in a movie, I remember that in this movie, this is just like in a movie. Yeah, but how many people watched that movie to create it in reality? So it's always a question of which came first. The influence, the seed planted, the spell cast, that you adopted it into your own unconscious mind, the wetico. There's the real wetico. The real wetico is allowing the externals to influence the internals and not realizing it's an inside job. That when you get the internals right, you'll be able to see through all that bullshit external shit. And you'll also notice that, of course, life is going to show up to you to poke and provoke you, to check you, to test you. That if you're being true to you, can you discern? Like, who would have thought? Again, the life is about polarity. You got to see the polarity. You have to acknowledge it in order to understand the duality of everything. So when you witness around yourself, the things that show up to you are there to also test you, but also to make you recognize that's where you're at. The world shows up, here's a mirror. Are you going to own it? Or are you going to let it own you? That's the clue. Because everything external to us is there to guide and help us navigate the life. So you see something you dislike. Can you still show up to life with love? Or are you going to react and get emotional and irrational and make bad choices? I don't even want to say bad choices. Make choices that are going to cause you to go, Because when we become emotional, when we have our hearts, we get triggered. That means there's a trauma needing to be healed. It's brought up to the surface. That's the only reason you get emotional about things. You only get traumatically, you go into trauma response because of unresolved issues. And again, your issues are in your tissues. And when you feel it, it reveals it. And then you get an opportunity to respond or react to heal it. You can allow it to take you out and break you, or you can take a break and reflect upon it so it doesn't break you or take you out. Isn't that interesting? Just listening to the languaging. We don't even realize how we allow words to penetrate us in a way that we don't even catch the duality of the meanings. Like AI right now, there's so many people, oh my God, AI is going to take over the world. You see how that was perpetuated too. There is benevolence and malevolence. As long as your intentions are benevolent and you are in your full awareness, you have nothing to worry about, nothing to fear. The moment you start going into the fear department, now you're giving them power, whatever they are, whoever they are, whatever it is you're fearful of. You're the one creating the big hairy monster by fearing it. So when you stop fearing those things, they have no power over you. So it's the confrontation of your own fear that will get you further in life. Because a lot of us, we all have fear. We all have something. We all have something that's got us holding back and not giving it our all. And like, why am I not whatever the story is? Why? Even right, like where we're at in the world today, where everybody's afraid of the economy and finances, and we don't know what's going to happen with the monetary system because they're basically fucking off and money laundering it, sending it elsewhere. I mean, we got people who should not be in charge of any money whatsoever. I wouldn't hire these people to invest my money. They're a poor choice of investment. So why is it that they're allowed to continue? I just don't get it personally. But everybody's sitting here going, what are you going to do next? It's like, instead of sitting on your fucking hands, go live your life. The reality is we're also being manipulated, influenced. And I don't even want to say manipulated because you're influenced. It doesn't make it good or bad. It just is. Or invested in ourselves. So think about this. They're saying that our money is devalued because of inflation and all this stuff. All of these are stories. All of this is just a story. Why is it that things are more expensive? Are they really more expensive? Or that we've just accepted it and everybody just keeps jacking up the price because they're afraid? Think about the way people react and respond to the stories we're told. All of this is this. This is all talk. And people are buying into it, literally. Because I'm over here going, there would be a time they're not going to be able to sell things at these exorbitant prices, so they're going to take a hit. They're going to take a loss. And it will all equal out in the end. Because if you raise a price up here and nobody can actually pay for it, eventually you're going to have overstock. And then you're going to be like, I have to lower my prices. So to me, this is all crazy making, and we're the ones going along with the crazy making. The idea that everything is being inflated monetarily doesn't mean that it should cost more, that it's worth more. Or the fact that they're saying that, well, we're in a state of emergency and they can't budget and all this other stuff. It's all bullshit. They make this shit up and they're eating it up, literally. And they're feeding off of our energy to create it. Because in reality, if we're working with one another, there's no reason why any of this should even be a concern. Why are they also injecting our food and our animals? I mean, come on, they're trying to poison us from every which direction. It's gotten to the point where the more you listen to that, the more you actually feed it. Again, the fear department. I really want to see us thriving. I want to see us like backing off all the stories, because the more we're listening, we're letting it infiltrate and influence us. And last week I was having more conversations around, I didn't feel myself and something's not right. And if you saw my video about the clouds and the sky and the sun and all that, like, this is a regular occurrence. I saw it again on Monday. I went to the beach. I'm in Florida, the Sunshine State. I've been here since the 80s when my grandmother moved down here. There hasn't been a time I didn't get sun, even with the cloud cover. Like, I get sunburn even with the sun being covered with the clouds. Normally, I didn't even have tan lines on Monday, and I was at the beach for 3.5 hours. Sun didn't even move out of its position. I had a girlfriend with me, and she goes, now you got me all worried about the sun now that I see all this shit. I said, you see what I mean? It's some fuckery. I said, my fuckery meter's on high right now. It's crazy. I don't want to get all caught up in that either, though. I want to continue to live my life with awareness about it, but not be attached. And this is exactly what they said, the guru said. Be of this world, but not, be in this world, but not of it. Meaning, don't let it take you out. Don't let all these little things, like, I mean, they're going to try to get you to pay attention, to feed and harvest your energy to the stories. Because the more they tell the story and you buy into it, the more they win. Until we rewrite and recreate our own lives and our own stories. And one of the things that James True said the other day that really, it's kind of funny actually, because it's similar to something I said last summer when I was traveling. When I said, you know, they're saying that all these people are going to drop like flies because of the, you know what, and you're seeing it. A lot of people are dying. A lot of people are choosing to exit the matrix, right? And I was in Portugal and the conversation came up around, you know, I'm like, geez, if people are passing away, there's going to be more property available, right? And then this other person with me said, yeah, I'm not worried about a food shortage because that just means there'll be more food for me. I mean, let's talk about that. Saying that the food, we have a shortage of food. No, we don't. No. But they'd like you to believe that so that you'll buy and run and stock up. And again, it's consumerism. Because the more you're in fear, what do? You stockpile. You buy in bulk. You buy a bunch of shit that's you're never going to use. It's like, I don't know if you remember seeing the other day, I posted about how in the 60s, they said we were going to be out of oil in 10 years. They said we weren't going to have water in so many years. Like, every single time you look at history, they're lying. At what point are we going to call out the lies and say, it's all about money in the end and control. They need us to be at their beck and fear. Oh, okay, take care of us, be our savior. That's what's really going on right now. The most renewable resources are water and oil. They're not fossil fuels, first off. I saw a video years ago with a geologist. He said, it's further down under the Earth's crust that it's not fossil fuels. That's a big lie. I think it was Jekyll Island when they all got together and said, we're just going to say this is a renewable and that, you know, it's limited. Just like water is renewable. We've got plenty of clean water under the Earth's crust. But if you knew that, you know, just like, let's all transition to electric. Let's all go. That is actually the worst thing for the environment because it takes up more resources. It is far from green. We all know this. I mean, this isn't rocket science here, people. A little logical thinking can dispel all the BS, essentially. But where we're at right now, this is what James True was pointing out. And I wrote this down because I thought it was funny. He goes, instead of killing the firstborn to cull society, they've introduced the identity politics into our culture for people to basically eliminate their own family lines. Think about that. You know, what did they say? That manifest destiny, survival of the fittest. You get enough people indoctrinated into a system of, I hate myself, I don't like myself, I'm going to change my gender, my whole identity. Look at me, because that's what it is. It's trauma. It's all trauma. It's mental illness. Although mental illness is really a clue into the fact that there could be a breakthrough if the person is willing to see it. A mental illness is showing the trauma. Whether or not someone confronts it or not is the question. But essentially, you know, that's interesting, isn't it? If you look at the trends in trans or the binaries and all this stuff, it's at the core of this. This is all narcissism. Look at me. I want attention. I want you. Yeah, I want attention. Look at me. Look at me. You have to call me by a certain whatever. And I'm like, if you don't love yourself and respect yourself, then what are you trying to make the externals? Again, love is an inside job. If you truly love yourself, you don't get upset about what somebody calls you or how they call you. It's simple, but they're making it and blowing it up and out of proportion. But this is part of the evil agenda. And I say evil because I rarely use the demonic stuff. I don't want to give it that energy, because when you talk about something, you also bring it into the reality too. So all this weird energy stuff of trying to bring in, it's like they're opening up portals. I mean, I'm actually seeing some shit that I'm like, whoa, I had to sage my house yesterday. I had to sage my house. I was like, what the hell is going on in here? Get out. If I feel something is off in my own house, I first off point out, unless you reveal your true intentions, who and what you are, you need to leave. You were not invited. So leave now and don't come back. So what else did I write down? They don't even recognize how they claim they don't want attention, but then they aggressively seek and insist you address them in a certain way. If a person is healthy, they don't take or make it personal if someone accidentally calls them the wrong pronoun or whatever, right? This is the reality. The toxic flip side is when people attack others to insist they behave, act, and treat them in a certain way to make themselves feel good about themselves. See how, like, that's crazy making. Thinking that if I make you speak to me a certain way, that's control. That's like psychology, that's Psych 101. Like, that's not, you don't force me to behave a certain way to make you feel better. If you don't feel good about yourself, that's not about me, that's about you. And why put yourself in a place where you don't feel comfortable that you have to control your externals? Because you don't have control over your internals. So when someone insists the external behave a certain way or match what they want, it's showing they don't have control of the internal world. Anyone who tries to control the external world is revealing that they don't have control over their internal world. They have no emotional regulation, no emotional maturity. And you know what? It's all good, because a lot of times people need to go through the reality of what aligns with them. Oh my gosh, yeah, medical. And so the other thing, people don't make you feel anything. You choose to react and respond to an old trigger, aka trauma response, trauma wounds, unresolved issues, and you choose how you'll feel consciously or unconsciously. Again, you don't even realize you're choosing how you feel. And like I said, go in the mirror, go look at yourself and say, you're choosing to feel this. You will catch yourself laughing because you're like, it's so ludicrous but true that it's up to you. And then there's this whole thing about the woke culture is really communism and socialism by a different name. And even some of these teachers are pointing it out. It's because people are envious. I heard someone say this the other day, and I was like, envy is one of the 7 deadly sins, people. Isn't it interesting how they're trying to bring out all the sins as being good? Like, this is the upside down, inside out clown world we're living in, where they're trying to normalize and legitimize living in sin. And I'm not talking from the perspective of religion sin. I'm talking about just things that just don't align with your natural essence of being a human, a soul in a human body. So like I said, it's because people are envious of what others have that they don't, and haven't achieved what others have achieved. Can you imagine? Nobody's going to own up to the fact that, it's real easy to say, oh yeah, I want appropriation. I want, I want to be entitled to having what that person has, even though I didn't have to do anything to get there. You know what? There's more satisfaction in achieving it than just having it handed to you because you don't appreciate it. And most of us who have been through life long enough know that satisfaction comes from actually going through the process to overcome your own inhibitions, to be courageous in yourself, to achieve that you create your own chemical cocktail of happiness. The oxytocin, all the dopamine, the serotonin, all that comes from you striving and doing. Having something handed to you leaves you empty-handed because you don't appreciate what was freely given. Most people, and this is something we say in Kundalini Yoga, if someone doesn't give to receive, like if there's no monetary exchange or some form of an exchange in life, people don't appreciate it. It's not unless they're paying for it, they will actually feel they've invested and gotten something out of it. And that's psychologically true. If you didn't give anything to get something, you'll just as quickly and easily wash it away and not appreciate it. Not everyone. I don't see myself falling fully into that category. But haven't you noticed how many free download books or things that you've gotten online that just you never even looked at, but you got it for free, but you did nothing with it? So many people do that and they don't even recognize it. But that's the psychology we're talking about here. That if you didn't give to get it, you didn't give something in a receptive, energetic form, money, time, energy, whatever, you're not going to appreciate it. Not if you paid for it. And that's the irony, is that you really find value in something, you'll pay for it. Because if you didn't pay for it, you probably won't value it. Think about that. And that's at also the root core of why most people don't feel valued. Because they don't hold themselves to a value and a standard. And that's where the boundaries get dropped. And we allow people to treat us outside of what is really right for us. That we have to unravel all of this. So, I hope this is all striking some awareness in self, because in the end, it's up to us to do the work on the inside so that we can make this a better world on the outside. The more you do the work on you, you give others permission to do the same thing too, and how they'll show up to you as well. So it's time for me to go to the gym because I got to move my body. It's been a long week. Love you all. I appreciate you for showing up. Always keep showing up for yourself, at the least. At the least, you deserve it. And just keep on, unraveling, peeling away the layers, because there's a whole lot of beauty inside of you. You got work to do. I got work to do. Yep. It's about to amp up, ain't it? So, how are you going to show up? That's always the question. I love you all, and let me know in the comments if you're interested in joining my Women in Wellness online. It's kind of like a mini retreat, but not really. It'll be a year-long program starting August 3rd. So much love from my heart to yours. Have a safe Sag full moon weekend. Ooh, love you.